Oxendine advised the agents that he learned of Routh's September assassination attempt from his sister. He explained that he contacted Cooper and told her, "You realize that dude just shot at the president, you psycho?"
We have a number of people in America, they're crazy. I mean, they take politics so seriously that if you disagree with them, you're not just wrong, you're in error, you're a bad person. Well, I know Mr. Comey and I know Mr. Brennan. Neither one of them, in my opinion, should attempt more than 6 of the 10 commandments. They're not very nice people.
No. The Trump assassin went wild in court today, fired his entire team. Now, the judge hasn't made it official yet, but you remember this judge, Judge Eileen Cannon. She was the same judge in Florida who handled the Trump classified documents case and Jack Smith and found he's not a real boy. It's Cannon. She's back. And this guy is Ryan Routh. You remember he was the second attempted Trump assassin, this guy here. All those weird connections to Ukraine and intelligence and weird stuff. Well, it turns out he's very unhappy with his lawyers. And today he fired them. Now, we don't know exactly what happened in court because Cannon kicked everybody out. But Caleb Park says, breaking update from inside the courtroom. Ryan Routh, the guy accused of trying to assassinate President Trump last year on the golf course, told Judge Eileen Cannon today, "I'm firing my attorneys and I'm going to represent myself at trial." What? Cannon says, that's almost always a bad decision. Probably not a good idea to do that. Now, Cannon's not going to make a decision today. Trial's coming up September 8th, very soon. And sounds like that is right on track. Now, Cannon also came down, and this is what happened in her minute entry from today's hearing. Here's what we got. Defendant Routh orally moved under oath to terminate his appointed counsel, waive the right to appointed counsel. So I don't want a lawyer. I don't want you to give me anyone new, and exercise the right to self-representation. Court says we conducted an in-camera colloquy, meaning I kicked everybody out of here and I read this dude the riot act, right? I sat him down. His little colloquy here. It's like, listen, you're going to go to prison forever if you do this. Like, she had a talk with him and gave him and heard from the appointed counsel as well. Like, I heard from the defense team, like, Your Honor, irreconcilable differences. I don't know what. He hates us. I'm mad at us. Fine. So they had a talk. Following the adjournment, the court reconvened hearing in public format and made findings regarding effectiveness of appointed counsel. So come back and said, maybe he's saying, Your Honor, they're being ineffective. She came back out and said, we've had a conversation. I'm not finding anything ineffective. Says, but even though there is nothing, I would imagine, I'm speculating, but I would say she's surprised, says the lawyers are doing a fine job, as they normally are. And Routh seems like he's crazy in a way, right? He's just nuts. And that happens a lot. Like, I represented one guy, I think I was his 8th lawyer, and then he fired us. So defendant Routh reaffirmed desire to terminate representation and exercise right to self-representation. He disclaimed any need for further consultation with counsel. Watch this guy win. And indicated no additional request in connection with his motion. So she's like papering the file is what we're watching right here, okay? Cannon's like, look, I said this. I did everything appropriately. He said multiple times. The court then conducted a full Ferretta hearing with Routh and took his oral motion under advisement, okay? Read him like everything, explained everything, that if you represent yourself, you can't come back and claim like your lawyer was an idiot or you were denied due process or that your rights were violated. Nothing, right? Like, you understand. Without objection from Routh, counsel then submitted forensic competency review to the court for in-camera ex parte review via a sealed filing. All right. So then that means that Routh probably saw a handful of psychiatrists or psychologists, government appointed or, court appointed people to do an assessment on him. Is he even competent to stand trial? And that was the next thing from the judge. Like, is this dude nuts? Talks to the lawyers. Is he crazy? No, we put him through competency. That's probably what the defense attorneys wanted to do, is say, actually, this guy's just insane. Like, he's guilty, but insane, right? So it's like a defense and we're going to put him in rehabilitation. He's just nuts. He's not actually criminal because he's just crazy. And we put him through a competency hearing, and the attorneys want to do that for themselves too. Like, want to make sure they're not representing somebody who's nuts. And they put him through, and it sounds like they sent that into the judge. So here you go, judge. They said he's good. He's cleared. So she says, all right, I'll write a written order later. So this guy might be flying solo. Now, further, as discussed at the hearing, all current deadlines remain in effect, including Ryan Routh's response to the defendant's motion in limine, right? So the government, Trump and the DOJ, now Trump's the one who was part of the attack, but now submitted this. And they say this case arises out of the plan to assassinate Trump. Routh illegally purchased a military-grade SKS rifle. Then on September 15th, in anticipation of Trump playing golf there, concealed himself at the 6th green of the golf club, loaded the weapons magazine with 20 rounds of ammo, drew one into the chamber, chamber and positioned it to fire. Only the arrival of a Secret Service agent thwarted his plan and prompted his flight. And so he got charged with crimes, bunch of crimes, big criminal history. And so they're trying to minimize the disruptions here. Motions in limine, streamlined trials. We can work a lot of these things out. And Ryan Routh is going to have to respond to this, right? I don't want to spend a ton of time on it other than to show you that it exists, but he's going to have to respond to this. The court should exclude his writings other than those offered against him by the government. Say, Ryan, he wants to introduce some writings. He wants to introduce his autobiographies. He wants to introduce his nonfiction books. We can't allow him to do that. They're totally irrelevant. They also relate to different defenses. The judge has already foreclosed on this. You can't use those defenses. And we don't know anything that he wants to introduce, but his discovery includes at least 2 excerpts from his own book. And although some content in these books is inculpatory, meaning it might actually incriminate him, not exonerate him, we may or may not introduce those materials ourselves. Now, those materials include his self-published book, which is called Ukraine's Unwinnable War, in which he invites a foreign country to assassinate Trump, and an apparent dedication letter when Routh left at the crime scene, which provides a list of his justifications for the attempted murder of the president. Now, unless the government wants to introduce those, Routh cannot, and you should not admit portions of his Dear World letter, or you should admit portions of this, rather, of his letter, where Routh confesses that he wanted and wants President Trump to be assassinated, saying, you're already familiar with this. And in that letter, Routh writes in his letter, this was an assassination attempt on Trump, but I'm so sorry I failed you. I tried my best and I gave it all the gumption I could muster. It's now up to you to finish the job, and I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job. They say that's what we want to admit. While the letter contains other inculpatory admissions, most of it is just an extended screed about the failings of Trump and his views on Ukraine and Iran and Taiwan. And so it's just not relevant. And now the government is entitled to introduce statements as admissions against a party opponent, and you should preclude him from bringing in third-party witnesses without showing why it's relevant. He's trying to justify the assassination attempt by introducing politics, but it's all just self-serving hearsay. He cannot introduce that stuff either. And so you should preclude him from saying, I'm a good dude, I've got good character. And you see how the pattern goes, right? So the list, continues on. And Routh, now by himself, is going to have to respond to this. Like, he's going to type a response to this and battle this out, look up all the case law, and end up in front of Judge Cannon and handle this. Well, it's going to be a disaster, okay, as you can imagine. John Shipley over there, writing for the DOJ. And now, if Judge Cannon allows Ryan Routh to kick his attorneys off the case, they will be handling that solo. But here's what Cannon continues to say. Okay, so now Ryan Routh has to respond by a certain time. And currently, though, pending the resolution of this motion, okay, we don't know if the judge is going to grant this or not, but you got to get a response due to us by July 22nd on the motion I just shared. Pending resolution of that motion, of Routh's motion to proceed pro se on his own alone without an attorney, and to avoid delay in the court's review, appointed counsel shall file a response to the motion. All right, so he's not going to have to respond to that one. So the current public defenders will have to dang it. If defendant Routh is permitted to proceed pro se, the court will consider any timely response filed by Routh and the motion and permit full argument on the motion at the upcoming hearing. Counsel shall expeditiously transmit a copy of this order to Routh. They were in court for 1 hour and 10 minutes, and so now we'll see what happens. I don't know if the judge is going to allow it. I mean, it sounds like she made a pretty good record, and she's leaning towards it. She just got to double check some things. So he might be flying solo. Could it be one of the most interesting trials of all time? But that is one development. Now, we also had this other development on this that came across from Headline USA. Shout out to them. Headline USA and Ken Silva said that Ryan Routh was not acting alone. In fact, 2 other people have already been charged and convicted, taking guilty pleas for being a part of the plot. Ken Silva got the deets on this, says we got 2 co-conspirators, one called Tina Brown and one called Ronnie J. Were both charged in March, but they already pled guilty. And so they're now going to probably be used as witnesses against Routh. And so they broke this and flagged the documents for us. And here is what it looks like. So this was the factual basis for a guilty plea, right? So Tina Brown, co-conspirator to Ryan Routh, which might be the first time you're ever hearing this name. First time I think I'm hearing this name. We're working with him? What? How so? Now comes the United States. This is the factual basis. So they pled guilty and they're just done. Okay, so what are you pleading guilty to? These facts. You agree with these facts? Yes. You sure? Yeah. Did you sign it? Yeah. And nothing to correct or addendums? Nope. Okay, good. So they agree. Now comes the United States, and these people will probably be witnesses in the trial against Routh that he might be representing himself on, saying, all right, here's the factual basis for the plea. Beginning in or around late July 2024 and continuing through August, Tina Brown, called Cooper, these 2 agreed and conspired to sell and dispose of a firearm to a prohibited person. So just the firearm sales. Oxidine sold the firearm to Routh at the the request of Cooper, who was Oxendine's employee at the time. Now, he can't have guns. He was convicted already of felony possession of a weapon of mass destruction and was sentenced to 60 months probation, subject to a term of imprisonment for 1 year, but didn't do that. So then in or about mid-July, Cooper asked Oxendine if he had any firearms. Hey, you got any guns I can sell to this Ryan guy? He's nuts. It's great. He's going to shoot Trump. Cooper sent a text message to Oxendine saying, yeah, Ruth's going to be here in North Carolina on July 28th. Can you meet with him? Responded that he was at the beach, but he would call Cooper when he got back in town. So then Cooper specifically asked Oxendine, do you have an AK-47 for sale? He says, well, I got a similar one, Chinese, SKS. Cooper then requested that Oxendine bring the rifle to his place of business. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's close enough, and he'll like that. On August 2nd, Cooper called Oxendine, who confirmed he was at his place of business and he had a rifle with him. Cooper, who was at the time driving with her adult daughter, arranged to meet Ruth at Oxendine and Son Roofing Company. Now, Oxendine was outside of the business when Cooper, her daughter, and Ruth arrived. Oxendine asked Cooper why Ruth was there. Who's this guy? Cooper explained that the rifle was actually for him. Not for me, it's for him. Oxendine, oh, you want to buy it? Okay. And handed it to him. Ruth paid Oxendine $350 in cash for the rifle and paid Cooper $100 in cash for arranging the sale. Now, on September 22nd, the FBI interviewed Oxendine in North Carolina. He advised he met Ruth early in the mid-90s, and he and Ruth both owned roofing companies and would occasionally cross paths at hardware supply stores. Now, they were not friends. However, Oxendine falsely told agents that Ruth had pawned an SKS rifle to Oxendine in the early 1990s for about $300. Like, oh, you're asking about the gun? Oh, yeah, it's actually his gun, way before he was a felon. Oxendine told the agents that Cooper called him and requested to purchase an AK. Now, Oxendine did not want to sell his AK, but offered to sell Cooper an SKS. He then explained to Cooper that an SKS rifle shot the same round as the AK-47 and told agents he believed Cooper was going to give the firearm to her grandson. So then Oxendine recounted that Cooper and Ruth arrived at his place of business, 10 a.m. August 2nd. Oxendine was surprised to see Ruth. Oh, this guy knows him from roofing. Oxendine had not spoken to Ruth in approximately 10 years. Asked Cooper, what's he doing here? Cooper explained, the firearm's for him, not for Cooper. Oxendine nevertheless agreed to the sale. Asked Cooper, why didn't you tell me the firearm was for Ruth? Well, I thought that you'd have an issue with Ruth being the recipient of the firearm. So man, she screwed him big time, huh? Oxendine advised the agents that he learned of Ruth's September assassination attempt from his sister. He explained that he contacted Cooper and told her, you realize that dude just shot at the president, you psycho? Oxendine said that Cooper, she's like, I know, he missed. Oxendine said that Cooper told him that she was going to delete all her text messages relating to Ruth. I'm deleting everything. Oxendine also told interviewing agents that Cooper had instructed him in text messages to deny any knowledge and refuse to cooperate with the FBI. It's good advice, generally. During Oxendine's interviews, agents admonished him about the importance of telling the truth, at which point Oxendine admitted he lied and received a rifle from Ruth. And Oxendine further admitted he told the FBI in an attempt to minimize his role to purchase the rifle, right? So they cracked him, which is why you don't lie or talk. On September 22nd, agents with the FBI interviewed Cooper in Greensboro. Cooper advised, she starts talking, that she had known Ruth since 1999 and had been an employee at his roofing company. Law enforcement arrested Ruth, recovered the rifle when he was spotted and fleeing. Cooper knew that Ruth had been charged with multiple felonies in 2002 after he threatened to blow up a police department. Additionally, Cooper believed that he pleaded guilty to 5 felony charges in 2022. She didn't know if he served any time though, but she knew he was a felon. Cooper told agents that in mid-July, Ruth called her and said that he would be returning to Greensboro in 10 days. Gotta buy a firearm for my son. We need protection here. Cooper said, oh, well, how about you go to a pawn shop? Ruth said, I can't buy it under my true name. I'm a felon. They're not going to sell it to me. Cooper said, oh, that's right. I'll help you get one. So Cooper then next reached out to Oxendine, her boss, asked if he had any firearms. Cooper told Oxendine she wanted to purchase a firearm for Ruth, this is her story, who intended to give the firearm to her son. Oxendine told Cooper that he was at the beach and did not have any for sale. Then on July 27th, Ruth called Cooper to discuss the type of firearm. Ruth said he wanted a long distance similar to an AK for shooting at the president. Cooper thought that this request was odd, but says, okay, but I might be able to find an equivalent firearm, like an SKS. You don't want a handgun for protection? Like, why do you need a sniper rifle kind of a thing? Is that what you're looking for? During the conversation, Ruth cautioned Cooper to be careful about what she sent via text message and explained that Ruth's wife may be able to view their messages. My wife might be thinking I'm cheating on you, but I just want a gun. Following this conversation, Cooper reached out to Oxendine again and asked if he had an AK-47 for sale. During the conversation, they agreed. Okay, I got an SKS, said I'll bring it to our business. Then on July 31st, Ruth called Cooper and asked about the firearm. Cooper told him that she had not found an AK, but got the SKS, got it. Cooper stated on August 2nd, she got a call from Ruth, who asked where she was. Cooper told Ruth running errands. Cooper then called Oxendine, who confirmed got the gun gun at the business. Then we met Routh there. He was outside the business when we got there. They asked why Routh was there, and she said the rifle was for him. Then she confirms, says much the same, $350 and $100 for brokering the sale. Okay, so their stories match. During the interview, Cooper allowed agents to review the contents of her cell phone. Cooper told them she deleted the contents of her phone after she learned about the assassination, and she further explained she deleted the content to avoid any involvement with the assassination attempt. Yeah. Now, a review of the device confirmed she deleted her call logs and her messages. And in her Facebook Messenger, agents saw correspondence between Cooper and Routh from January 14th to January 1, all the way from 2014 to 2022. Long time. During the interview, Cooper provided multiple inconsistent stories to agents about the firearm transfer. Agents advised Cooper of the consequences for lying to federal agents. Cooper then admitted, I am lying to you for fear of criminal prosecution in an assassination attempt. She said that she was guilty of assisting Routh, whom she knew was a prohibited person, in acquiring a firearm. Like, I didn't know he was going to shoot Trump is probably what she's saying, but I did know he shouldn't have had a gun. Agents asked Cooper if she had instructed any other person involving the firearms transactions to lie to the FBI or to mislead us. On multiple occasions, she denied this. Nope, just us. No, I not. Nobody else is involved. Agents then showed Cooper text messages that she sent to Oxendine on September 19th that were taken from his phone. Here's a picture of his phone, which is busted up. Golly. Says, FBI came by the shop, he says to Tina Cooper. She says, do not volunteer any information. Nothing happened. Feeling them see where they're coming from. Do not admit to anything. There is no proof if they check your record. Then they know how many guns you have bought this year. I know what I'm doing. I do not know crap. And you do not know anything about what happened. You do not either. Do not open and admit nothing. There's no proof other than your text messages saying that you're involved in this cover-up right now. So then she says, do you remember these messages? After reviewing the messages, she said, oh yeah, I forgot. I did want him to prevent him from cooperating with you. Thanks for busting me though. So call her out. They took guilty pleas, so they're both done. And now this case is marching forward. So we'll see what Judge Cannon ultimately does and whether she allows this guy to represent himself or not. But in the meantime, we're asking about the Secret Service, who in this incident was great. They captured him, caught him before the bullets went off and pierced Trump's head, and captured him later down the line. That didn't happen though in the Butler incident. And so now the Secret Service has suspended 6 agents over Trump's assassination attempt, saying that the announcement coincides with the 1-year anniversary of what happened in Butler. I mean, I guess not surprised, but suspended? He got shot in the head. The Secret Service said on Thursday it was suspending 6 agents involved. 10 days to 42 days without pay. Said in a statement that came days before the 1-year anniversary. So it's like, wow, you're either letting it happen on purpose or you're making it happen on purpose, and you're just going to get a 14-day suspension. Probably go down to the Bahamas with Fannie Willis. A young junior agent who was on Trump's personal detail got the longest suspension. The agent is also the only member of Trump's personal detail to get a suspension. The agency has come under intense scrutiny since Thomas Matthew Crooks, whose body was torched within like 10 days, was allowed to crawl up onto a roof where people in the crowds are screaming, and all of the law enforcement and Secret Service agents just miss it and allow him to get up there. One of the most insane times. Lawmakers have called for agency leaders to hold those responsible for operational failures, and they did. They just, a little bit of a suspension here. You deserve it. Take some time off. Been a lot of investigation coming your way. So, of course, we also know other malicious actors in our government exist, including Comey and Brennan and more. And our friend Senator John Kennedy is explaining that Comey and Brennan are just the worst.
What do you mean by protecting the president?
It says the threat climate against him has never been higher than what it is now.
I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. We have a number of people in America, they're crazy. I mean, they take politics so seriously that if you disagree with them, you're not just wrong, you're in error, you're a bad person. And presidents are very visible. I know they have good protection, but they've got to be protected every moment. I really regret that we live in a climate like we live in. But I can tell you 2 people who contributed to that climate. You've already mentioned their names, James Comey and Mr. Brennan.
That's right.
Well, look, when we talk about that seashell on the seashore messaging, 8647, and now open criminal investigations to the 2 men we're talking about now, Comey and Brennan, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I know Mr. Comey and I know Mr. Brennan. Neither one of them, in my opinion, should attempt more than 6 of the 10 commandments. They're not very nice people.
No.
They're not ethical people. I know people who have worked with them closely. And if you talk to people who've worked with them closely, those people will tell you that they're about as popular as male pattern baldness. What's scary about both of them is that they think that they're competent. They're not. I would hire the guy who salts the fries at McDonald's before I would hire either one of them, but they think they're competent. They think they're smarter and more virtuous than the rest of us. And they acted on their political beliefs. Brennan, for example, Mr. Brennan was one of the ones who told the American people that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real. It was Russian disinformation. They're just not honest people. And if they broke the law, they should be held accountable. They're like so many in Washington, Harris. They're so arrogant. Lyndon Johnson used to have an expression. He'd say, that guy's so arrogant, he could strut sitting down. Well, that's the way Mr. Comey and Mr. Brennan are. Those two have done more to destroy the American people's confidence in the FBI and national intelligence than any two people I can think of.
Well, I would like you to speak up for the guy who salts the fries at McDonald's. He has given back to society in a way that we all can appreciate. What you described, those men definitely are not doing that and have not done that.
They are definitely not salting those fries, man, and they are not good dudes. And so thank you to John Kennedy for explaining that. And we'll keep our eye on this Ryan Routh situation. We'll see what Judge Cannon does. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.